Just a few more. Thank you for letting me say a few words today. I was in Congress for a few years, but I'm not a politician. I really am a simple sailor. And during those 31 years that I was in the United States Navy, I saw the wonderful youth of America come in to serve, as they also got on the ladder of opportunity to be a success in their lives. And I honestly came to believe that what American exceptionalism really is this very unique American concept that's born out of a basic, simple idea that every person should be given a fair opportunity to climb the ladder of success, but that they should also be expected to contribute to the fullest because we've given them the tools to do so. We then went around this nation and built those tools, those ladders of opportunity. Public education, mandatory up through high school, but then we followed with public universities, roadways, railways, waterways, mass transit, mass communications, and other types of infrastructure. We built a superior national environment for individual opportunity from our collective resources so that if you achieved your dream in America, your American dream, you didn't do it by yourself. That's right. You did it with us and because of us. But I'm concerned, and the reason I'm here today and accepted this invitation to speak is that fewer of us are having the opportunity to climb that ladder of opportunity simply because there's fewer ladders and there's fewer rungs. And I drove down from Pennsylvania and opened up today's Washington Post. Over 300 schools and school districts throughout America are shortening their school day weeks from 5 days to 4 days. And all you can think about is there goes a few ladders of opportunity for those youth that I used to get and came in the military. And as I was driving through Pennsylvania yesterday, the governor of that, my great state of Pennsylvania, announced that he had no money to invest in transportation. So think about the fewer rungs that are now out there for the small businesses that want to have their commerce move around. So do I think the coffee party, if I could call you that, is when I met with you all first a year and a half ago when I was a congressman in my district, has all the answers? Absolutely not. But do I think the issues that you were pursuing out of citizens' intervention are a piece of the puzzle? Oh, without a question. Think about Wall Street. And I think Wall Street has a very legitimate role to play if they focus upon creating value for our American society, where they make sure there is liquidity, they make sure there's capital, and that there's optimal allocation in a fair, open, transparent marketplace of that capital for America. But the day the recession began, there was over $600 trillion in notional value of derivatives, and we had no concept or idea who owned them, where they were, because they could be traded in the dark of the night, in the back of a room. If there's anything I learned in the United States military is expect what you inspect. And I think that there have been those without inspection who have actually up there and elsewhere begun to extract wealth, extract value from our society rather than creating it. That's why we actually need Wall Street, as well as other reform, transparency, so that that common enterprise is not harmed by a legitimate effort for someone to achieve all they might. You've got to balance the two. Then you walk over, your other one was campaign reform. You take money out of politics, you'll fix 80% of all problems. About a week or two after the Supreme Court erroneously passed Citizens United, I submitted a piece of legislation that I now understand others have resubmitted this past session, which said, okay, if that's what we got to live with until we change the composition of who's on that body, well, then let's make sure that it's people that are voting, not a corporation. Who means a corporation's equal to a person? So shareholders should be able to approve who the money is going to be applied for or against, and oh, by the way, approve the ad. If nothing else, let's mitigate the damage until we can change that judiciary branch so it serves Americans, not corporations. After all, the Constitution does say we the people, not we the corporations. The third point, if I could, is tax reform. You know those corporations? 66%. Let me just start with this better. In the 12 months from last September to this past September, in our private markets here in America, we created 1.6 million private sector jobs. Every one of them, except 50,000, was created by a small business. Our corporations created 50,000, and yet 66% of United States corporations this year will pay a zero taxes in America. By the way, that's the same approximate for last year, the year before, and the year before. And then you step back and look at the larger picture. In the last 30 years, the increase of income, including benefits, for the top 1% has tripled. Let's take the middle class, the exact 20% of income wage earners, of households in America in those 30 years. If the spouse of that household had not gone out and on average for that 20% worked an additional 10 weeks, where they didn't do it 30 years ago, that household's increase would not have been in those 30 years 20%. It would have been zero. Right. Running to stay in place. Right. So why don't we fix the skewed tax code system so it focuses on the real job creators, small businesses, and actually what is the real American exceptionalism, the middle class? And so, as I end, and why I'm thankful to be here, you're on to something. That something is, let's be Americans before we're partisan. Let's remember what real American exceptionalism is. Let's not deny what got us to where we were, and that was the middle class, the engine of our economy, the source of our innovation, so that throughout this entire globe, this world, no one doesn't believe that shared opportunity isn't shared prosperity, that common wealth is not common strength. And that's, I always go back to an example I saw in the military of this fair individual opportunity, because that's the best of our character. With alliance between individual opportunity and the common enterprise, between every person trying to achieve their own individual success, but never measuring that achievement apart from the greater effort. So as we arrived off Afghanistan in my carrier battle group, and we launched one night, 8 pilots, one of them a young 27-year-old woman, who proved that evening to be the only one who disobeyed my orders. Not to die below 20,000 feet unless we first had an opportunity to ensure there were no endangering shoulder-fired missiles that could take down an aircraft. But ambushed, with 4 dead, the remaining 4 Special Forces officers on the ground in Afghanistan, Americans, radioed for immediate help as the Taliban continued to come down upon them. She said, in her mind, I don't have precious seconds to ask permission. And she dove and then redove, and 4 men came home that night, carrying their dead comrades. When I joined up during the Vietnam era, we didn't have women on ships, never mind flying an F-18. But because she was given a fair individual opportunity to be all she wanted to be, the common mission, the common enterprise succeeded better than it would have that evening. That's the American exceptionalism. That's the American ideal. And I would argue that the accountability for that from leaders across the political spectrum is missing. I don't care. When I was running against my party's desires, as some of you know, I was never alone, and I'll say it right here. I was with the Tea Party. I may violently disagree, but they were no different than those that occupy Pittsburgh or Wall Street. The reason is they feel as though someone, the leadership, the trust in our government, the trust in our leaders, that is absent because they've let them down. Groups like this, just like that Tunisian street peddler who set himself afire and set the whole Middle East ablaze in a peaceful way here in America. But our way, those outsiders are going to make the changes that are needed to re-grab a hold of American exceptionalism, to keep our country all for our children. It should be. Thank you very much.